Hello and Merry Christmas. We're in the Christmas time, and so Merry Christmas to you as we celebrate this season. Um, we're going to do my devotional. This is the only one that I've done this week, and that's just to remind everybody. I'll only be doing one or two a week until the Christmas season is over. Just trying to get in some vacation times and celebrate with my own family. And at any rate, we're going to try to still do some, but it will be just a little less until January. Then we'll get back on our regular schedule. So anyway, for today, we're in Proverbs chapter 7, verse 24. And we're just going to read this. What's been happening in the book of Proverbs in this chapter that we've been studying is just this telling of the story, and the whole first part of the chapter is the father telling the son. That's like, God telling us the story of this affair, and so we finished that. We just finished the last devotional. We finished the last verse that's in the actual story, and we get to these last few verses of the chapter, and it's just sort of a summation of the theme. And so in verse 24, he says, "Now therefore, my sons, listen to me and pay attention to the words of my mouth." And so he's just going to really try to drive this point home in these last couple of verses. But we're studying one verse at a time, so we're just going to stop here at this, and where it says, "Now therefore, my sons, listen to me and pay attention to the words of my mouth." And this is a motif that we have seen throughout these first 7 chapters of Proverbs. We'll see it one more time in the next chapter, only it'll be from wisdom speaking, the personification of wisdom speaking. She'll say a similar thing. And then at the end of the book of Proverbs, one more time. So there's only a couple more times this motif shows up, this idea of this repeated sentiment of pay attention, listen to my words. They're really important. You got to listen to this. And each time we've come to this, we've kind of emphasized a different angle of that. Excuse me. And so today we're gonna emphasize the angle of the idea of the parent. Now this will show up again throughout Proverbs. A lot of themes in Proverbs are repeated, and that's important because the repetition itself is actually part of the teaching method. So this is a repeated motif, but here today we're going to talk about the parent side of things, and just I want to highlight a real error that Western civilization has made, is making, but has made throughout my whole life since I was a child. And it's a real error, and we're reaping the consequences of that error. And so I want to highlight it from this verse, and that is this: a civilization that wants to thrive needs to teach the importance of parents. And when we teach the opposite, you are sealing the fate of that civilization. You will destroy the civilization. It just simply is going to happen. The 10 Commandments that God gave us, one of them says to honor your father and your mother, that your days will be prolonged, and that it may go well with you in the land that I'm giving you. Now, the idea, those two ideas of that your days will be prolonged, and that it may go well with you. Those two ideas are really, really important. The idea is God gave us parents, and He says honor them. If a child does not honor his parents, then their days will not be prolonged, and it will not go well with them. The opposite becomes a thing, and so God gives the command, and it's a command that he doesn't always give a logic for his commands. He just simply says, you will not murder. Like he doesn't have to give the logic to that. But this is one where he does give it. He says, listen, honor your father and your mother so that, right, your days will be prolonged and that it will go well with you. And so if a civilization wants to have long life, wants to see its people, wants to see the individuals, but also the civilization itself wants to live on, then the teaching of the children to honor their parents is extremely important. It prolongs the life of the children, prolongs the life of the society. It gives much better chances that it will go well, that it may go well with them, and it gives much better chances that it may go well with the society. This is such an important thing, and yet, as I said, in Western culture, we've kind of taught the other, and I'll show you what I mean. If you think about common media, our stories we tell, even the songs and the music we sing, all the ways that we communicate culture in our Western society, you're going to find certain themes. One particular theme is going to show up with regards to this subject, And that is this idea that somehow rebellion is normal, that kids rebelling against their parents is normal, that it's to be expected, that it's almost a rite of passage, that and they'll highlight it as a teenage thing, but even outside of that, this idea that kids are gonna, they're gonna disobey, or when they get to their teenagers, they're going to rebel. We've kind of created this cultural expectation that that's what should happen. And it isn't. It isn't at all what should happen. It isn't normal. It isn't. It isn't what should normally happen either. I know many people who never rebelled against their parents, and I would be one of them. And it has gone well for me. And so it's not a normal thing, but yet so much of our media teaches this as if it were a thing to expect, and even a thing to do, that you should do it. The rebellion against your parents is the opposite of honoring your father and your mother. It is a contrary to God's teaching and God's command. And so we get all these variations on the theme, whether it be rebelling or not. Even just the theme of don't respect, don't honor your parents is repeatedly taught through our various cultural teaching methods. Like I said, through music, through books, through movies, through TV, whatever it is. We get this message repeatedly. Things like this, that parents are out of touch. Somehow parents can't connect to their kids because they're too old to be in touch. They don't understand, which is ridiculous. Parents once were children. They understand what it is to be a child. They understand what it was to be in school. So they're not out of touch in that way. They may be out of touch with some little meme that's going on, but that hardly means they're out of touch. But this is a presented idea we see all the time, that parents are out of touch. Kids, you can't connect with your parents, right? Well, that's just false. The parents have selfish goals for you. They just want to live their life through you. They're just trying to make you follow the track they wish they could have followed, or something like this. This idea, once again, is dead wrong. There may be some people like that in the world, but as a whole, that's not what parents are. Parents are looking out for the good of their children, and they want their children to succeed. And most parents, I think, want their children to have a better life than they had. And so it's just wrong, and it teaches dishonor the parents. You can't trust them; their goals for you are wrong, right? That's the idea, or the outright statement we even hear sometimes today, that parents are somehow your enemy, that they're against you as children. That's just, once again, just patently false. There may be some examples of parents who are like this, but the sum does not mean the whole, and it certainly doesn't mean what's normal. We should teach both parents and children that there's an important bond here, and you're not enemies, you're not contrary. But we see this in humor, where parents can't wait for the kids to get out of the house, and it's like, why? Why is that? Why is our culture teaching this animosity and this contrariness between parents and children? You'll get this message that parents are tyrants who just restrict kids instead of protecting them and guiding them, or get the idea that parents are stupid. So many when I was young, so many cartoons and family sitcoms presented the father figure as a buffoon, and it's like, why are you diminishing and dishonoring fatherhood rather than honoring it and teaching kids of the wisdom of their parents? Or the idea that parents, they should be just friends with kids and have no instructive value, or that parents somehow owe their kids and kids owe their parents nothing, and that these ideas that our culture keeps pushing are so false and so wrong, and they teach young people to dishonor their parents. And the scripture, the command of God says, honor your father and your mother, that your days may be prolonged, and that it may go well with you. If we teach our children to dishonor parents and violate this command, then their days will not be prolonged, and it will not go well for them. They will die young and miserable, and our society will die young and miserable. It's a real serious thing. And so here in Proverbs, the idea is just presented once again through this motif. Now, therefore, my sons, listen to me and pay attention to the words of my mouth. It's an important lesson. Honor your own parents. Doesn't matter how old you are or how old they are. Honor your parents. That will be wise. Merry Christmas. The Lord willing, I'll be back on Tuesday with the next verse. Have a great weekend.